Hi, my name is Dennis Beatty. Welcome back to another Elixir tutorial. If you follow Elixir Twitter very closely, you probably noticed that Chris McCord released Phoenix LiveView on Friday. Chris and the other contributors did a great job with the release. It has really thorough documentation, and I was especially impressed with the examples that were released at the same time. So I'm going to walk you through creating a counter similar to one of the examples that they posted. But I'm going to simplify it a little bit so that it's as basic as possible. And I'm going to try and explain each step of the way so that hopefully we can make it so that you understand how to do this and can create your own live view applications. Please reach out to me though if you have any questions about it, and I'd love to help. So to start out, let's go ahead and create a new Phoenix project. So I'm just going to use mix-phoenix.new, and then I'm just going to call this live view counter. And then I'm going to say no ecto. For this example, we won't be using a database or anything, and so I'm going to go ahead and tell it to not do that. So I'm going to go ahead and create that, and then let's go ahead and fetch and install dependencies. The Elixir dependencies usually go pretty quick, and then the node ones take a little bit longer, but it's usually not too bad. So while we're doing that, the next step that we're going to take is we're going to go into our project folder and add LiveView to the list of dependencies for the project. And so right now that is just a repo on GitHub. It hasn't been pushed into Hex yet, and so we'll be using a Git dependency there. So let's see, it's taking a minute longer than I was expecting. Okay, there we go. So we will cd into LiveView counter, and then so we have our deps all set up. So I'm going to go ahead and open this project in Atom, and so we have this new LiveView counter project. So I'm going to go into my mix.exs, and just down here at the bottom, I'll add Phoenix LiveView. That's on GitHub as Phoenix Framework / Phoenix LiveView. Okay, so we have that, and so I'm going to run mixsteps.get again to get LiveView. Okay, so now we're going to want to configure this. So as part of that, we're going to add a signing salt. So this is a security mechanism for guarding against man-in-the-middle attacks. Basically, all of the messages from the server will sign those with a secret key, and so the front end can make sure that those messages are actually coming from the server, and so it helps to prevent basically fraudulent messages from being passed in. So let's see, since this is just a test project, we can use mix phoenix.gen.secret32 to generate that key. So we'll take that and then put it into our config. So if we go into the config.exs file, then we're going to go ahead and add it onto this endpoint config. So we'll say LiveView signing salt, and then paste in the token that we just generated. So now we have that. I'm going to save this file, but then we're also going to want to add down here, we're going to want to set up the tell Phoenix that for LEEX files, live EEX files, that we want to use the Phoenix LiveView engine to render those templates. So I'll say render LEEX files with the LiveView engine. So we'll say config Phoenix template engines, and then we'll say for LEEX phoenix.liveview.engine. And again, all this code is going to be on my blog, so you can easily look at that if you're getting lost. So now we want to add the LiveView Flash plug to the router. So I'm going to open my router file. Oh, still indexing. Because I haven't initialized a Git repo, it's pulling up all of our routers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. we'll say get init, and that'll limit Atom to just the non-ignored files. So here in our router, we have this browser pipeline. So right here we have plug fetch flash. Let's add below it plug phoenix.liveview.flash. And then we're also going to want to add another plug, and this one I'll explain in a little bit, but basically we're going to want to do a put layout, and we'll say live view counter web dot layout view app, and this just tells it we're going to want to use our app view for anything that is going through this browser pipeline, and that'll make a little more sense a little bit later. So then we'll go into our live counter web file. Live view counter web, and we're going to change this view macro so that it will also import phoenix.liveview. We only want live render 2 and live render 3. So this file is kind of a large part of the magic behind Phoenix. So it imports and aliases all the functions that help us to craft controllers and views and routers and channels. And so adding these in will kind of help us when we're creating these live views. So we're also going to import the phoenix.liveview.router into our router function. Okay, then we're going to go into our endpoint, and we're going to say instead of this socket here, we're not even going to use that, but I'm just going to add above it socket live, and then that will go to the phoenix.liveview.socket. And so this is the WebSocket that our application will actually send all of the state through. So I'm going to go ahead and close all of these. We need to go into our JavaScript. So in the assets directory, JavaScript folder, we'll start out with the package JSON. So here in our dependencies, let's add Phoenix LiveView, and we'll say this is a file in our tree. So we'll say /deps/Phoenix LiveView, and so that will tell it to fetch from there. And so now that we've done that, let's go back and cd into assets and npm install in there to install this new dependency. And so we'll see that happen. So we're almost done with the configuration step. So let's go ahead and go back to our project. And in our app.js file, at the bottom here, we're going to want to import livesocket from Phoenix LiveView. So that's saying we want to pull in this livesocket class from that dependency that we just added. And then we'll say let livesocket equal new livesocket with /live. So now we're instantiating a new livesocket object, and we are telling it that it's going to be hitting this /live path, and then we'll tell it to connect. And that should be all the JavaScript that we have to write. So now just a couple more things, and these ones maybe aren't completely necessary, but they're going to make development a little bit more fun. So in our dev.exs file, in our config, so just right here in the config and then dev.exs, we're going to update this endpoint configuration. Well, not that one, this one, so that we can live reload our live templates. So the convention will be to put them into lib/live-view counter web / and then we'll be creating a new live folder, and then we'll want all the ex files that are in there. And so this will say to watch that directory, watch files with that pattern, so that if they change, we can go ahead and update them and live reload them when we're in development mode. So this last step is totally optional, but what we're going to do is go into assets and then into CSS and then app.css, and we're going to just import from our deps directory the Phoenix LiveView dependency, its assets, it's assets CSS liveview.css. And so this is just saying pull in the CSS that's defined with Phoenix LiveView, so that it will get added to what we have. So we will go ahead and close that, and that should be all the configuration. So to make sure that we're looking good, let's go ahead and run. So mix phoenix.server. Uh-oh, what did I do? Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. So let's try that again. So we'll run mix phoenix.server. So this has to compile all of our dependencies before it can run, since this is the first time we've done it. But basically, there we go. Webpack is watching our files. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear my terminal, and then we'll go over here and we'll say HTTP localhost 4000. And so here we have our basic template, and you'll see here that we connected to that LiveView socket, and we got the OK reply. So that's great. So now we're going to go ahead and actually work on the counter. So I'm hoping that once Phoenix LiveView is a little bit more stable, it's going to get baked into the Phoenix generator, so we don't have to do all this boilerplate every time. But for now, that's just what we have to do. So let's go ahead and start creating the counter. So if we go in to our router to start out with, let's go ahead and create a new route. So if we just change this to say live, and then change where it's going to just be counter live, we'll have to create this file still. That should work to set up that initial route. So let's go ahead and close the assets folder. So in lib LiveView counter web, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder, and we'll just call it live. And then inside of that, I'm going to create a counter live.ex file. And so it appears that appending live onto the end of your file name is going to be the convention, similar to how we say page controller, or we would say user socket. And so it appears that that's kind of the way that it's planned for those Phoenix LiveView templates to be named. Sorry, not templates, just live views. And so we'll go ahead and create this counter live, and so we're going to call it def module LiveView counter web dot counter live, and then we'll just say use phoenix.liveview. So this will be pretty similar to in our controllers. We'll say like use LiveView counter web controller, because this isn't built into Phoenix and getting imported by default. Right now we're having to say use phoenix.liveview, and that should pull in all the functions that we need to actually create a LiveView view, as well as kind of define the behavior for this. So let's go ahead and create a render function. So render is going to be the kind of focal point of this new live module. It renders the actual DOM element, and that will take assigns, which is going to be kind of the parameters that get passed into the render. So inside of that, let's go ahead and create a new LiveView template. So this sigil with the capital L is the sigil that will be used to define these new LiveView templates. So that's a little bit different, but it's, yeah, that's how it'll be done. So let's create a div. Inside of that div, we'll create an h1 header that will say the count is, and then we'll use the EEX syntax to output the value, and then close our h1, and then let's add a button. I'm going to get more into this Phoenix click business in a second, but we'll just create these two buttons. And then we have our basic template that'll get rendered. So let's go ahead and run this, and you'll see that we're getting this error here. It says assign val is not available in the EEX template. So we have this value here and it's not in this assigns. And that's because there's a second piece of this behavior that's expected, and that's a mount function. So the mount function will receive a session and it'll receive a socket. And so we can pull information out of those, and then we can assign to the socket a value, and we'll start with the value of 0 so that our counter starts at 0. And so once we've done that, we should see that everything is looking good again. And if we come back over here, we'll see, okay, we have the count is 0, and then we have this minus button, and we have this plus button. And currently those don't do anything. You see the red that overlaid it, that shows that it's trying to do something, but so far there's nothing there. And then we're seeing here these bad function calls. And that's because this handle event is undefined or private. So basically, if you look at this, these buttons, they have this Phoenix click attribute on them, and that Phoenix click event, or the Phoenix click attribute, defines an event that will get sent up to the server. So we can handle those using the handle event function. So if we take in an increment event, and then we'll receive a value. Right now we're not going to do anything with that. And then we'll receive the socket. And so with that, we're going to want to say no reply, but we'll update our socket. We'll update the value assigned in the socket. And then to do that, we'll just create an anonymous function that adds 1 because we're incrementing, right? And so then we'll do the exact same thing for our decrement. So the value in the socket, and then no reply, update our socket val, and then this time our anonymous function is going to decrement and subtract by 1. So doing this, basically this handle event function gets called with that increment, and it will return a socket with this new value assigned to it. And kind of the magic behind Phoenix LiveViews is that when you update your assigns, then it will automatically update the template, and it will send down just the data that has changed, so that the front end can diff that and display it properly. So let's go ahead and give this a look. So now if we increment, we see that the number goes up, and if we decrement, it goes down. So there you have it, a very simple Phoenix LiveView application built in about 18 minutes, 19 minutes. But I'm going to take it one step further. I'd like to show you how to use these live EEX templates that we set up. So this is going to help our code be just a tiny bit cleaner. So let's go ahead and create a new file. So in our LiveView counter web folder, in the templates directory, let's create a new folder, and we will call it counter, and then a new file in that, and we'll call it index.html.leex. and then we will go ahead and copy this template into there. So we have that in place. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a new view that will render that template. So in our views, let's create a new file called counter view. And so then in that we will say the module LiveView counter web dot counter view, and then we'll just say use LiveView counter web view. And so this will create our basic view. And then finally, let's modify our live view to actually use that. So let's alias LiveView counter web dot counter view, and then we can say here counter view dot render index dot html, and then pass in the same assigns so that those will get passed through to our template. So we've now refactored that so that this function is quite a bit cleaner and this module looks a lot cleaner. And so now when we go back over here, I'll just do a refresh to show that, and that's a very fast refresh, to show that we have the updated code and it's all still working great. So there you have it. We're rendering out of a template and our code looks pretty dang clean. So yeah, Phoenix LiveView allows you to do some really cool stuff without ever having to touch front-end JavaScript code. It's still in the early stages, so I wouldn't recommend using it for anything critical in production. But that being said, I really like the API of it. I'll probably do like some follow-up tutorials that track changes in the database, maybe even a game or two. But I'd recommend checking out the examples repo. Chris McCord has a slightly more in-depth version of this example. I just really wanted to go through this so that you could see exactly what was involved in creating a LiveView application without having to have all the extra code in place that is in that examples repo. But yeah, please let me know if you end up building anything cool using LiveView. I'd love to see kind of anything that comes out of this. I think there's going to be some really cool applications of this, and I'm excited to see them spring up. Also, if you have any feedback on the video or anything like that, please let me know on Twitter or in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. I plan to release several more videos, and I'd love it if you would subscribe so you can find out right when they come out. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.